witches.
Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be doing our final Norse episode.
Yeah, we are. I feel like there's got to be so much more to the Norse mythology that's just been lost to history, and it makes
Yeah,
me super sad.
yeah, lost to Christianity.
Yeah.
To
So
bitches.
I'm going to go over, we're going to start with the end of the world. So I'm going to talk about um, the death of Balder and then the revenge of the gods based on the death of Balder. Um, And I'm going to, I used this book called Norse Myths and Legends. So it's kind of written as a story, which was enjoyable for me. Made it a little easier to read than some of the more, um, I don't know, academic texts. But anyway, so Balder, did we cover Balder? No.
Um, I don't know.
I feel like we briefly talked about him in with others, but we're going to talk about him a little bit. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of him. So Balder was very pure of heart. Everyone loves him. He represents goodness. And while he lives, the force of his righteousness would allow everyone in Asgard to enjoy peace from evil. So he's just great, and everyone loves him. Well, almost everyone. Wouldn't be Norse mythology without Loki being in here fucking shit up.
Always.
So Loki is the one that's going to fuck all this up. But first, I'm going to read this little excerpt. It's a little poem at the top of the, it's like, you know how they have blurbs at the front of a chapter. So it's a little poem. And it says, so on the floor lay Balder dead and round, lay thickly strewn swords, axes, darts, and spears, which all the gods in sport had idly thrown. At Balder, whom no weapon pierced or clove, but in his breast stood fixed the fatal bow of mistletoe, which Loki the accuser gave to Hoder, and unwitting Hoder threw. Gainst it alone had Balder's life no charm. So that was written in obviously an older style of English, but that's basically the gist of the story. But we'll go into more detail. So to Odin and Frigga, they had two twin sons that were super different. We had Hoder, the god of darkness, who was really somber. He was blind, really quiet, maybe not as well liked. And then they had Balder, who was beautiful and he was pure and radiant and the god of innocence and light, and everyone loved him. And even Hoder, Hoder is not the bad guy in the story. Let me be very clear. So one morning, Balder wakes up because he had a prophetic dream and was scared, basically. He dreamed of his own death and could tell that it was not a normal dream. So he goes to see Odin, and Odin, has his special powers because he carved out his eye or whatever. So he's like, "You're right. This wasn't a normal dream. This is gonna happen." Um, so he goes to his throne at the top of Yggdrasil, and he's asking for a vision. And he sees the head of Vala the seer. And so Vala is dead, and her grave is in Helheim. So Odin's like, okay, gotta go to Helheim and figure out what the fuck's going on. So he goes there and summons Vala, and she's pretty pissed off about that. But Odin, being Odin, is like, I don't want her to know who I am. So he makes up a fake name and is like, I wish to learn the fate of Balder. And Vala says Balder's brother will slay him. And so she's saying that Hodor is gonna kill Balder, and Odin's like, the fuck, like what do you mean? Like, they love each other, everyone loves Balder, what's going on?
It's Loki.
Right.
It's
So
Loki.
he's like, oh, in the midst of all this, as Odin is traveling to Vala's grave, he notices like Hel is like preparing for, like, the being Hel is preparing for like an esteemed guest, basically someone very important or like exciting or, I don't know, long awaited, is about to die and come to her realm. And he's like, who is she preparing for? Balder. It's Balder. And so Vala says, it's Balder, and I will say no more. So he comes home and he tells Frigga all of this, and they're like, and he's like, I don't know what to do, and she's like, I have a plan. So Frigga goes through all 9 of the lands of all the realms or whatever of Yggdrasil, and seeks a pledge from every living creature, every plant, every metal, and every stone not to harm Balder. So at this point, now Balder can't be hurt. Like, they literally will shoot arrows at him and they don't hit him, and it becomes like a game for the kids, and for like at parties and stuff, people will just throw spears and arrows at him and they just bounce off, if he doesn't get hurt. And everyone is like, this is awesome and we love him and we're glad he can't be hurt. Everyone except Loki. Loki is jealous of Balder, which kind of seems to be a common theme with Loki. He gets jealous of everyone else instead of like improving himself, so maybe he doesn't have to be jealous. And he's trying to formulate a plan, because like Loki in so in Greek mythology, like Hades is a much more lovable character than he is portrayed in most pop fiction. Like, he's actually not that bad of a guy. But then
except for what happens with his wife.
Right, but like there's more to that too. Like,
yeah.
So Loki is the opposite. I feel like in pop fiction, Loki is portrayed as like this funny little impish trickster, and he's actually like not that bad. That is not correct. Loki fucking sucks. I mean, he's still a trickster and like funny and all of that, but he's also fucking evil. So
he's gonna come for you now.
Well, okay, listen.
If shit starts magically just disappearing, you can't fucking find it.
Yeah.
You deserved it because you did that.
Fair. But like, in this story, he's evil and he's like on his way to fucking kill Balder for no reason except that he feels jealous.
Okay.
So
you saved yourself there.
I mean, I don't work with Loki, so I can't say anything about how he actually is. But in this story, which was written by men, first of all, so let's be very clear that this story might not be anything like what actually is. Let me save myself a little more. But
what
in
if
this
Loki
story,
was a woman?
Oh, well, in that case, I would probably assume that Balder's not actually as great as he's made out to be.
I also don't think they would actually sit there and say Loki is a male, but I would. But
true.
Anyways, go ahead.
So Loki is coming up with a plan, and on this plan, he pulls like an evil queen. So he transforms himself into this like lowly beggar woman, and he knocks on Frigga's door, and he asks for a meal. And Frigga, being Frigga, is like, yeah, let's sit down, let's have lunch. Like, so they sit down together, and Loki is just chattering on about how handsome Balder is and how he's so afraid that Baldur's going to be killed by one of the spears or arrows that all these people are throwing at him. And Frigga's like, oh, he's invincible. And Loki's like, oh, so everything did swear the oath to you then? And she's like, well, all except for a funny little plant which was growing at the base of the oak tree at Valhalla. I'd never seen a plant like this before, and it was too immature to swear to anything as important as my oath. So again, Frigga just thinks this is like a random beggar woman. She doesn't realize who she's talking to, so she's just openly speaking. And so Loki's like, what's it called? And it was called mistletoe. And she told him that. So then Loki leaves and turns back into himself, travels to Valhalla, and finds the mistletoe at the tree that she was talking about. And sees that Baldur is playing with the younger kids, and they're shooting him with arrows, and they're not working. But Hoder is standing over in the corner, like, just chilling. And Loki's like, what's up? And he's like, I just hate that I can't join their games. Like, he's kind of feeling left out. And Loki's like, come with me. Let's join their games. And he hands him the bow and arrow made of mistletoe.
Wait, why can't he join the games?
I don't know, because he doesn't, like, he's blind, and he's not,
oh, that's right, he is blind. I was like, did he, like, say that he couldn't?
No, but he's blind, and he can't, like, play, I guess. I don't know.
I thought he, like, didn't do the pledge.
No. So he moves, because we're, like, this is Loki's trick. Hoder did do the pledge, but Hoder is not aiming to hurt Baldur. He doesn't realize what's gonna hurt him. So he hands him the bow and arrow, and at the end of the arrow, he puts, like, a little leaf of mistletoe, and he puts a berry, one of the mistletoe berries, on the tip of the arrow. And then he goes, shoot now, and Hoder does. And then, Baldur gasps, and Hoder's like, what's going on? Because he can't fucking see. And he's, like, confused about why people aren't happy and laughing because the arrow missed. Or didn't hurt him. And, obviously that didn't happen because the arrow did hurt him. So then Asgard, like, goes into grief. Like, the whole fucking city or whatever goes into grief. Hoder is sent away into the wilderness alone. And he has not given up Loki's name yet. Frigga sends one of her sons to Helheim to beg Hel to release Baldur. And she's like, nah. I don't think so. I don't think so. And he's like, please, like, we can't survive without him. It's whatever. And then so for 3 days and 3 nights, he stays there and begs. And finally, she gives in. And she says, return to Asgard, and if what you say is true, if everything living and inanimate in Asgard loves Baldur and cannot live without him, then he will be released. But if there is even one person, stone, plant, anything that is not sad about Baldur dying, then he has to remain in hell. And Hermod's like, okay, everybody loves Baldur. We're not, like, this is going to be fine. So they go immediately and send all their messengers to all the corners of the universe and asking for tears to be shed for Baldur. And as the last messenger travels back to the palace, he sees an old beggar woman hidden in the darkness of a cave. and he asks her to cry for Balder, and she does not. So Odin himself comes there to see, like, who is this person that's not crying for Balder, you know, the amazing guy that everyone loves. And as soon as he looks in the eyes, he sees Loki, that it's Loki, and is fucking pissed. So now we get to the revenge of the gods. Because they're fucking pissed. They've realized that it's Loki that did this, not Hoder, and they're coming for him. So, Odin's about to start punishing Loki, and Loki transforms into a fly and just flies away. So, he flies to, like, these distant mountains and finds, like, the most isolated one, builds himself a cabin, and he puts windows and doors on every side of the cabin so he can see when they're coming for him. And so Odin can see everything, right? He's like the all-seer or whatever. So he knows where the fuck Loki is, and he's like, you're an idiot. But Odin is a little bit more patient than Loki, and he just waits. And he waits for Loki to basically get comfortable. And there was one evening where Loki was inventing what we call today a fish net, because he was going to fish in the pool by his fucking cabin. And so Odin has rallied all the gods, and they're on their way, and Loki is not paying attention because he's just chilling. It's been this long, he thinks he's fine. But he sees them when they're almost there, and he jumps into the pool and turns himself into a salmon. But Kvasir is the one that was leading this, like, I don't know, attack. And he sees fish scales on the floor because Loki turned into a fish. And he's like, Loki has become a fish, and we are going to catch him with his own web, is what he says. But it's the fishing net that Loki was weaving. So Loki is like, I'm not fucking stupid, and swims under the net. And Kvasir is also clever and is like, okay, bitch. And he has stones placed in the bottom of the net so that it will sink all the way to the bottom. And then Loki's like, haha, and because he's a salmon, right? And he jumps over the net. But Thor is there, and Thor is fast. So he reaches out when Loki jumps over the net and grabs him out of the air. And for some reason commands him to take his own form. Like, he makes him turn back into his humanoid form. And then Thor has his hammer, right? And he's about to beat the fuck out of Loki. But Odin's like, no. Death is too good for him. Take him to Hell's world and tie him there for good. So they take him to Hell, and they make, like, a platform and like, tie him down, basically. And then they bring in his two sons. Well, two of his sons. Vali and Nari. And they put an enchantment on Vali, and he takes the form of a wolf and attacks his brother and rips him to pieces in front of his dad. Which, for some reason, makes his Nari's entrails, or, like, intestines, are now endowed with magic properties. And so they use those to tie Loki across the rocks so he can't fucking move. And then, to make it even better, Thor's like, I'm gonna take these 3 rocks and I'm gonna place them on, like, the very tip of this, like, fucking cliff. And if Loki moves too much or wiggles a lot, he's gonna fall the fuck off. So it's just a lot of things. And then the final, like, part of this punishment is Scotty catches a poisonous snake and she traps it by its tail, so it's hanging over Loki's face, and it drips venom into his mouth, so he's just constantly in pain and like convulsing. So Loki's wife runs forward and is like, "Can I please stay with him?" And she holds like a bowl to catch the poison. And the gods are like, "The fuck ever! Like, if you want to join him in his punishment, go for it." And she does until the day that, um, until Ragnarok, basically. But every day she had to move from her position where she's like catching this poison, to go empty the bowl. And while she does that, the venom obviously leaks into Loki's mouth, and he is having convulsions or seizures, and they're so bad that they cause earthquakes. And there is an earthquake in Asgard for as long as it takes her to come back with the bowl to start catching the poison again. And they literally stay there until Ragnarok.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
And this is where I come in.
Yay!
Okay, so Ragnarok, if no one knows anything about Ragnarok or hasn't played any of the games or anything like that, Ragnarok is basically the destruction of everything. It is the end of the world, and there's actually a couple, depending on like. So I got this article from somebody. He actually he wrote a book, and he used references. Actually a lot of different references. So he used actual, like the actual Eddas from like where all these stories come from. He used, dictionaries for Northern mythology. He actually also used myth and religion of the North. So like kind of like mixing both, which is kind of cool because like a lot of people are like, oh no, that's just myth. And then everybody else is like, that's religion. And it's like, they're the same.
Right.
They're the exact same. But this guy actually wrote a book called The Viking Spirit. It's an introduction to Norse mythology and religion by Daniel McCoy, if you would like to actually get that book and read a little bit more about it. But this is kind of like his, I guess, scholarly take on everything and kind of like what Ragnarok was. So again, it was the cataclysmic destruction of everything, the cosmos, everything within it, including the gods. So the gods, or majority of them, do not survive this. It's when Norse mythology is considered as like a chronological set of tales. This one obviously comes at an end. It was also like a prophecy. So it was a prophecy of what was to come at some unknown time, unspecified time. It's kind of like for those who are either Christian or who grew up in like a Christian household, it's kind of like the reckoning. What do they call it?
God damn it.
I know, as soon as I say it.
I mean Armageddon, right?
Kind of, but not.
But like before that, there's the oh my god, what is it called? Where all the people just disappear into the fucking.
It's literally like the Book of Revelations. The end of the world. Bible. What is this called? What is it called? The Apocalypse.
The Apocalypse is what I fucking meant. No, I didn't fucking say Armageddon. Oh my god. Listen, I've been out of the church for a while, y'all. Don't come for me.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like, it's not. They don't call it the apocalypse though. It's like the second coming. I don't know. But anyways, that's kind of like what it is. It's like the very end of the world for the Bible. It's the Book of Revelations is what it is.
The Rapture.
Rapture! Did it! Oh god, I knew. Yes, Rapture. It's the Rapture.
I literally Googled what happens when Jesus takes the Christians. and it said rapture. You're
Well,
welcome.
it's the second coming, so like that's that's a good way to put it. But yeah, so it's basically the rapture, but for you know, the Norse mythology, all of that. Um it's going to happen at unspecified time and unknown in the future, but it's going to have like a lot of ramifications. Um and it's kind of like it's kind of how the Vikings understood the world in their own time. So and that's kind of like the cool idea behind it. So a little idea of Ragnarok is actually Old Norse for fate of the gods. There is a fucking gnat in my face. The only problem with living down south is like the gnats and the flies in this time of year is like horrendous. You don't even know where the gnats or the flies are coming from. They're just there. They're like
Wonderful.
come out of the fucking walls. Anyways, and it's a play on words in some Old Norse literature that has been found. It's also considered twilight of the gods. It was also referred to as fate of mankind, as well as like, you know, a host of other things. So the tale itself is this is basically what it is. So someday, whenever the Norns, those in scrutable spinners of fate, so like the fates, the three little ugly things in Hercules, they're called the Norns in Norse. Decree it, there shall come a great winter. So it's called Fimbulwinter or Fimbulvetter. Uh, but it's basically the worst winter anyone has ever seen. It is it has biting winds, it will blow snows from all direction, and the warmth of the sun will fail, plunging the earth into unprecedented cold. The winter shall last for the length of 3 normal winters with no summers in between. So 3 years of straight Antarctic weather. Mankind will become so desperate for food and other necessities of life that all laws and morals will fall away, leaving only the bare struggle for survival. So it is basically the apocalypse. Um, It'll be an age of axe and swords. Brother will slay brother, father will slay son, and son will slay father. Um, so during this time, everybody like chaos is happening on Midgard. The Earth itself basically is happening, and it's gonna be real fucked up. The wolves, Skull and Hattie, their goal in life was to hunt the sun and the moon through the skies. Um, and they have done that since the beginning of time. But prior to Ragnarok, they will at last catch their prey. They will finally catch the sun and the moon. Um, and because of that, the sun and the moon will disappear. The stars too will leave, leaving but nothing void, but black void. Yggdrasil, the tree that holds everything together, will tremble, and all the trees and even the mountains will fall to the ground. The chain that has been holding back the wolf Fenrir will finally snap, and the beast will run free. So Fenrir is, I believe, being held at this point in time in Helheim, and he was chained up using a magical enchanted kind of chain that only or I believe it was Tyr made, and it was able, and like this is how Fenrir was unable to like leave or do anything in an attempt to, you know, prevent this from happening. But the chain will snap, and he has finally run rampant. Jormungandr, who is the world serpent, who and he dwells at the bottom of the ocean, and he encircles the entire land. He will rise from the depths, And because of this, he will spill all seas over the earth as he makes landfall. So creates like tsunamis and catastrophic waves. Um and because of all of this and all of these the shakes and convulsions of everything that's happening right now, this will actually shake the ship Naglfar. Naglfar. Stop laughing. Stop it.
I just love that I'm not the only one who's like
Stop it. It's rough because it's like the L and the G together with like English phonetically just does not work. So when I try to say it, my mouth tangles up in itself. Naglfar. Let me put the peace sign up in hopes that it works. In other words, Nail Ship will free from its its moorings, its location. This ship is made from the fingernails and the toenails of the dead men. your face.
That's fucking gross. I fucking hate fingernails and toes. Like, listen.
The
And I'm
tism is
pretty
strong
sure
with this one.
that this is partially from my father, like from trauma from my childhood, but like he would just clip his fucking nasty ass, big ass toenails and just let them fly in the middle of like the fucking living room and just leave them there. Collect that shit on like a napkin and put it in the garbage. Nobody wants to step on that. Anyway, go ahead.
If I do it, it's on my side of the bed. So if I step on it, then it's not. I feel like it's okay because it's mine.
I mean,
if I step on anybody else's, like it's a little weird
because it's in your space and nobody else goes over
yeah.
there. But like in the middle of the fucking living room, just no, sir.
I think my biggest problem. We only had one bathroom growing up. Sorry, side quest. We only had one bathroom growing up. Before my parents redid the upstairs. My dad would clip his toenails in the bathroom. I don't like toes, and I think it's because of his toes. Like, you know how sometimes like people just have like issues with their toes and they just can't help it. Other time people just refuse to clean their toes. Like, I think dad just has an issue with his toes that he just can't help it. He works on his feet all the time. He's sweaty all the time. Like, he's probably just got some like toe fungus problems. I don't like toes, and it's mainly because of that. I just think it's gross. He would clip his toenails in the bathroom in like the sanitary area of the entire fucking house. And I would find them like near the toilet, in the sink, in the bathtub. Like,
no, that has been rejected.
yeah, it doesn't matter. It could be like my toes are okay because I know where my toes have been. I like will clean my toes, all of that. I don't care. You got to be an innocent little babe for me to touch your toes. Like, I barely like touching toddler toes. Yeah. I don't like touching Will's toes. I don't like touching women's toes. Like, I don't like touching anybody's feet.
Oh my God. Speaking of toddler toes, I woke up with sweaty little feet on my belly this morning. Sweaty feet. Little clammy, sweaty nasty, little toes. Sweaty feet.
Sweaty little toes.
They're the cutest little feet, but they were gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ragnarok.
Toddler toes would do that. All right, so the nail ship. So this ship, again, is made up of fingernails and toenails of the dead men and women. Not even of anything specific. It's just of dead men and women. This will sail easily over the flooded earth. So it's coming for you. You're gonna see it. Its crew is an army of giants, the forces of chaos and destruction. And its captain will be none other than our wonderful trickster god Loki. He's coming back with a vengeance. The traitor to the gods, who will have broken free the chains in which the gods have bound him. Because,
which, remember, like, are his own child's entrails. Just saying.
Yeah. But I mean, like, why? Because, like, why not? Because it's always got to be like that, right? Fenrir, with fire blazing from his eyes and nostrils, will run across the earth with his lower jaw on the ground and his upper jaw against the top of the sky, devouring everything in his path. Jormungandr, which, remember, Fenrir and Jormungandr are Loki's children, will spit his venom over the world, poisoning land, water, and air alike. So I kind of wonder if so like in the Christianity version of the apocalypse, they talk of like the four horsemen coming, like death, pestilence, all of that kind of stuff. And like I wonder which one like these are. And I asked that, so think about it. I asked that because I'm going to bring this up again here at the very end because we're going to have a discussion. So the dome of the sky will be split, and from the cracks shall emerge the fire giants from Muspelheim. Their leader shall be Surt. Now, we didn't really talk about Surt. Now, I talked about Surt in like a small little like side quest that we did because I'm going to start calling them side quests from now on because that's my life. Because in God of War, in the not the remake, but like the Norse one, not the original timeline, the Norse timeline, and in the Ragnarok timeline, you actually go to Muspelheim and you speak with Surt and you do like a bunch of random shit for him. But there's like a sad little story about Surt and like a possible woman and all of that kind of stuff. So like it's really really sad, and like you actually like kind of cry about it because it's really really fucking sad. But anyway, so Surt will be the leader of the fire giants from Muspelheim with a flaming sword brighter than the sun in his hand. As they march across the Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, specifically to Asgard, the bridge will break and fall behind them. Heimdall will ring out an ominous horn blast, the divine sentry blowing to the Gallarhorn will be blown to announce the arrival of the moment the gods have feared. Odin will anxiously consult the head of Mimir, the wisest of all beings, for counsel. Now, Mimir is literally just that, just a head. And he is the greatest little tiny sidekick in the game, God of War. He's just so fucking funny. He's this cute little British, Scottish dude, and he is the little, I don't know, he's like C3PO. Like he's like the little like, oh, why are we doing that kind of thing. Greatest thing ever. Love him. Anyways, the gods will decide to go to battle, even though they know that the prophecies have foretold concerning the outcome of this clash. So, despite them all, they are going to fight for everything.
Gryffindor.
Gotta love that
energy.
I mean, what do you want? Slytherin energy from fucking Loki? No, that's not even Slytherin energy. That's fucking Voldemort energy. That's Death Eater right there.
I left.
You're like, nah, I'm gone. Like, I'm dead anyway, so like, fuck.
Yeah.
Anyways, they will arm themselves and meet their enemies on the battlefield called Vigrid, Old Norse Vigridir, or plain where battle surges. Odin will fight Fenrir, and by his side will be the Einjar, the host of his chosen human warriors, whom he has kept in Valhalla for just this moment. I think the Einjar are like generals. I think that's what they're supposed to be. I think they're supposed to be called like the equivalent to generals. Because I feel like they are like the leaders of clans, or like the people who like control towns, like mayors kind of thing in a way. Odin and the champions of men will fight more valiantly than anyone has ever fought before, but it will not be enough. Fenrir will swallow Odin and his men. Then one of Odin's son, Vidar, burning with rage, will charge the beast to avenge his father. On one of his feet will be the shoe that has been crafted for this very purpose. It has been made from all the scraps of leather that human shoemakers have ever discarded, and with it, Vidar will hold open the monster's mouth. Then he will stab his sword through the wolf's throat, killing him. Damn. Another wolf, Garm, and the god Tyr will slay each other. Heimdall and Loki will do the same, putting a final end to the trickster's treachery, but costing the gods one of their best in the process. Not Loki, Heimdall. I'm not saying that to be rude to Loki. I'm saying that as like they believed Heimdall was like the greatest. Nothing could harm him. Not harm him, but like he could see things coming kind of thing. I believe. I don't quote me on that. The god Freyr and the giant Surt will also be the end of each other. That I don't understand because like they're technically fighting for each other unless oh no, Surt's coming for Asgard. Never mind. Sorry. In the game, God of War, he basically like you want Ragnarok to happen in the game God of War because like, you know, Odin's like Zeus, a shithead. Like we fucking hate Odin in the game. But he tells us that he cannot combine with the love of his life, who was like from like the coldest planet, Niflheim, because if so, then like unrage or like rage and like destruction will like happen, and he won't be able to control it, and that's why he doesn't do it. And like and that's not like the same story, but that's very similar, like to his thing. Thor and Jormungandr, those age-old foes, will both finally have their chance to kill the other. Thor will succeed in felling the great snake with the blows of his hammer, but the serpent will have covered him in so much venom that he will not be able to stand for much longer. He will take 9 paces before falling dead himself and adding his blood to the already saturated soil of Vigard. Then the remains of the world will sink into the sea, and there will be nothing left but the void. Creation and all that has occurred since will be completely undone, and as if it had never happened. Now, kind of whipping this back around, some say that this is the end of the tale, and of all tales for that matter. But others hold that a new world, green and beautiful, will rise out of the waters. Vidar and a few other gods, Vali, Balder, and Hodor, and Thor's sons, Modi and Magni, will survive the downfall of the old world and will live joyously in the new one. A man and a woman, Leaf and Leaflessr, or Old Norse for life and striving after life, will have hidden themselves from the cataclysm in a place called the Wood of Hodmamir, and will now come out and populate the lush land in which they will now find themselves. A new sun, the daughter of the previous one, will rise in the sky, and all of this will be presided over by a new almighty ruler. Some say that there are 2 versions of this myth. The first one being that this is the end of all creation. The second one, that there is a secondary life that happens. Wonder what that secondary life is. Some believe that it's the start of Christianity. Or some believe that Christianity took their creation myth for the end times of Norse. And that is kind of how things got mixed up. And they believe that Ragnarok is the rebirth of the world, not necessarily the end of the world, but like the rebirth. And because those heathens, you know, Christianity just had to take it. Kind of a way, Noah's Ark. Didn't they destroy everything
Yeah, with the flood,
and repopulate everything?
they did.
Isn't it weird how
So,
like the more and more we like learn about like other cultures and religions and myths, and we're just like, that's eerily similar to the one true almighty religion.
but just so we're clear in saying that, all of these other ones came first.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, they did.
So just saying.
Yeah, they did. This came
Just
first.
saying.
So, and they're saying in this person specifically Daniel McCoy, he argues in his book not about like religion or anything about that. He's saying that the version in which there's no birth after Ragnarok is the more older version. It's morally like of the pagan view, and the rebirth story is an addition that developed only late in the Viking Age, more under Christian influence.
Mm.
Now that could be true. I wasn't there, obviously. I can't say yes, yay or nay, but it's just so eerily similar to that of like how Christianity started, or like what we believe to be Christianity, like Catholicism, like the birth of Christianity.
Yeah.
That I feel like, I don't know, there's just so many things that are too similar for older religions that Christianity has as well. It's just like, there's got to be a time where Christianity was just like, I like that, I want it. I like that, I
Right?
want it. Because there's like a guy on TikTok, Facebook Reels, all of the above, that jokes around with this, and specifically around Christmas time, he'll have like one person, like it's himself, like multiple times, but he dresses like a tree, and then he has like multiple people in like brown cloaks in a way, like they look like monks, and they're all like partying for the winter solstice or whatever, and then they have like Christianity people come in, like Jesus, Mary, and Jesus comes in and goes, I want this. Well, you can't come in here and tell us this. Well, it's going to be Christmas or Christmas now. It's Christmas. And then he's just like, no, you all have to leave. And then as soon as the tree starts getting up to walk out, he goes, no, you can stay. And he's like looking around all confused. So he makes those funny little skits, and he does that a lot. Not a lot, but he has like a couple of them for like Christianity stealing stuff from like pagan whatever. And that's
Yeah.
like the idea that Christianity stole from like pagan religions. But not religions, but like cultures. But the thing about it is too, it could be like a melting pot. I mean, America at one point was supposed to be a melting pot of cultures, and we were supposed to be like San Fran, Tokyo,
Oh yeah.
like the movie Big Hero 6, where everybody was supposed to be like this huge big culture thing.
Yeah. That never happened.
No. And I mean, yeah, instead of like everything merging into like one huge culture for America, it just, you got the stereotypical culture for America, and then you got like the little bitty people in America that like celebrate their own things. But I think that's kind of like what might have happened, where like things maybe like melted together at some point. I mean, fuck, we had people literally like at the at an Epcot at the Disney, or at the what's that, the fucking ball ride, that's all I ever called it, the ball ride.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
Earth. You're like going through time in Spaceship Earth, and then there's like literally monks writing, like rewriting things, not necessarily the Bible, but like rewriting books. And I'm like, there could have been mistranslations, there could have been problems, there could have been this, there could have been like, and there's a joke there too that one of them was fucking sleeping, so like he could have like woke up like, oh fuck, and like got it correctly. Like shit can happen. So, but
Absolutely.
basically things are just very, very similar to that of the, you know, Christian influence. Um and I don't want to say there was Christian influence because of how old Viking Age really was and how long they've been there compared to everybody else. Like there's similar shit in like the Greek mythology. Um so
Yeah.
it's hard to say yay or nay on that one. But that's the story of Ragnarok. And this guy says that he has like a whole book dedicated to, you know, the introduction to this and specifically religion, if you are kind of interested in diving in deeper into both of those two things and to kind of seeing the difference between that, for scholarly articles or, you know, just for fun.
Cool.
But I'm interested to like to figure out like who's who, because like we got the ship, so like who's the ship, or like who's Loki in that, because we have Loki as
Right.
like one of the four horsemen. We have Jormungandr, we have Fenrir, and I guess Suitor. Suitor would be considered that, right? Those are the four people that were like big,
Yeah.
the big fighters. Pestilence would probably be Jormungandr because he was spewing poison everywhere. Um, who else was it?
Famine.
Conquest, war, famine, and death. Oh, pestilence isn't even on there.
Well, mine says conquest, war, famine, and plague, which would be the same as pestilence, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like Loki would be conquest because
Yeah.
he's trying to like be the best. And then
war would probably be Fenrir because of rage.
Yep, that's what I was about to say. And who was the other one we talked about?
Death and famine.
No, I mean in Norse.
Oh, Suitor.
Oh, we've got war left. No, famine.
No. Death, famine, war. Well, I think he's technically considered death because in the game or something like that, he's like, if I do this, like then it's the end of everything. Like it's the end of it all.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting. I'd need to like read more into it and think about it.
Right? I was like, when I read that, I was like, oh, I was like, I can't wait to bring that up. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's gonna be so fun to talk about. So, but yep. Anyways, that's it for Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for our next adventure to a different realm. And until next time.
Bye.